WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. It's a day that I'm certain my guest at this time will not forget. I'm talking about the former Intercontinental Champion of the world, Macho Man Randy Savage.
Nothing means nothing.
Nothing
means nothing.
Nothing means nothing. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah. Macho Madness, yeah, has got more to offer than President Jack Tunney thinks that I got. Yeah, and I'm going to tell you something right now. Cards stacked against the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. Yeah, let me say it, yeah. Let me say it out loud. And let me point to the president of the World Wrestling Federation. The Macho Man Randy Savage is not happy with your decision, yeah. I am the cream in the World Wrestling Federation.
Wait a minute, friend.
Welcome back, Rico Moneybags, the channel helping you invest in yourself so we can invest in the future. Make sure you guys smash the like button, subscribe to the channel. Make sure that bell notification is lit. How much fun is that intro right there? I have a banger show for you guys today. I'm actually personally really excited myself because a lot of this stuff has been very successful, but I do want to go through the paces. I do want to get you guys to, smash the likes, share this thing like crazy, because we do have the cream of the crop of some technical analysis that we're going to be talking about. We have a special guest for this show, and honestly, you guys bust out your notepads because we're going to go to school. But first, I want to start off right here at the top on coin market cap right here. We do see the overall market kind of pulling back, but honestly, some exciting times when I saw the overall crypto market cap at 3.95, 3.96, Bitcoin rallying right back up. Not even getting to its all-time high, but the overall crypto market cap growing. And really, because I'm getting excited for altcoin season. I know a lot of us have been waiting. When is it going to happen? How is it going to happen? Are we going to get a sign in the sky? How is it going to really play out? But I think it's already happening right before our eyes. You're seeing Ethereum up almost just about 8% up on the week. You got XRP up, 6.3%. And honestly, a lot of retail has been asking me, hey, how do you think about XRP? What do you think about XRP? And XRP has been giving me those old 2021 vibes when, people know that you're invested in crypto or whatnot, and they come in knocking on your door and they're like, hey, what's going on with this XRP thing? So XRP has been one of those players that you guys definitely got to pay attention to. It's been outperforming and doing really good, and a lot of great news surrounding it. One that we also have to talk about that it has been doing absolutely phenomenal. And shout out to the Feg Army. Get the Gorillas in here because we got one of their own up in here. Yes, we got a special guest. I'm sure the Gorillas are going to be really happy to see him up in here with us as well. But we have BNB roar all the way up to $800, and really exciting times for even BNB. I don't have a crystal ball. I can't tell you guys when these things are going to happen. I don't know the time and the hour, but I knew down to my core that Bitcoin would rise, bring in all this hype, and we will have some of this, altcoin season stuff happen. And really, I still think that we'll see BNB over 1K, over 1,200 possibly. But you're seeing some of those signs and making it come true with BNB up almost 10% on the week. The whole BNB chain being absolutely ecstatic, with BNB crushing over $800, BNB making posts about it. I mean, how cool is that? That's happening right now, right before your guys' eyes. Another one that I want to talk about, Solana. I think I remember, I don't know, a couple of days ago, I told you guys I was actually watching the short before the stream, before I got to talking to the special guest that we're going to bring up. I was watching the short and I was laughing because I was in the short, and go watch it. It's on my TikTok, actually. We got like 12,000 followers on TikTok. But all these live streams, they get chopped up, and I post them on TikTok as well, so we get a lot of exposure. But it was a short of me saying, not to short Solana. Don't you dare short Solana, not just yet. And if you're going to, let it hit the top at 200 and then it'll pull back down. But whether or not we were going to have videos of us talking about Solana over 200, we knew that was going to happen. So whether you're a Solana degen, whether you're, a BNB maxi, or you love XRP, this is the WAG Me channel. We're all going to make it. We're not here to have no tribalistic mindset. Hey, if you like BNB, cool. We'll talk about BNB. You like Solana? We'll talk about Solana. We have nothing but crypto projects to talk about, and the list continues to go on and on and on. So without actually any further ado, I do want to get you guys right on the page. I see the stream kicking off really strong. Let me come over here really quick just to make sure that we're live everywhere, that we got all lights, camera, action. And yes, we do. We're live on the main X account on XPX. We're live on my X account on, X as well. We're live on Rumble. We're live on YouTube. We got ourselves quite a stage. And of course, we had to roll out the red carpet for my brother from another mother when it comes to TA, Mr. Blunthouse himself. Man, this is kind of an honor, bro, because you've been refining my style lately, big time, bro. Like I showed a trade today, and I'm actually going to show it off. And I want you guys, this is how serious I want you guys to stay tapped in with me before I let him come up and grab the stage, because this right here, this is an example of today. This has become easy for somebody like me, whether you're a experienced trader, whether you're a novice trader, whether you're somebody who you're going to want to write some of this down. So without any further ado, if you guys can also give Blunthouse 420 a follow right here on this X account. But Blunthouse, how are you doing today, brother? How you doing?
I'm good. I'm great. I'm super thrilled to be here. This is kind of an honor for me. So
you're too nice.
Yeah, I'm just happy to share the love.
Absolutely, man. It's really been a lot of fun. And like I said, whether you're a seasoned trader, whether you're, just starting off, whether you love your meme coins, I promise you guys can apply this everywhere. And I've been using a lot of this man's wisdom. We might hear some of the stuff and you guys are gonna be like, what? Hey, I think I heard Rico say something like that. And I've been mentioning this guy, I've been mentioning his indicator, and now the roads have crossed where you guys can actually see it right here, full swing. And this is what it's all about, right? It's not what you know, it's who you know. And sometimes, guys, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're not in the right room. And I'm telling you, when I go to these FEG, and if you guys can go give FEG token to follow as well, Blunthouse, actually, let me scroll down before we continue. Actually do a little shill on this as well. You guys can join him 12 p.m. EDT time, right? Where you guys can join in the FEG TG. You guys can learn about FEG token, but really absorb. And you guys might have to fight for the mic because I'm over there asking this guy a bunch of questions. It almost turns into a one-on-one because I'm so greedy with Blunt. But Blunt, man, we're here with Bitcoin rallying up. We got hot markets. I want to know your overall sentiment on the market, how you feel about the market, and and then we can get into some charts. You can share your screen if you like. We can have some fun on crypto projects and go from there.
I think when we're kind of talking about the market, I guess it's which one, the stock market, the crypto market, commodity market right now. I think that matters. So we're probably going to talk a little bit about crypto for the most part of today's session, although we might show some technicals on other charts. But we were doing a stream the other day, and maybe it is a good time to kind of share a screen.
Okay.
Here we go. Bitcoin. This is a 4-hour chart that we were actually showing in the stream that we do with FEG and BYDFI, BidFi. And the horizontal line that you're looking at here at 110,720 was a level that we drew on Tuesday, the 27th of May. And at the time, I do that whenever I can line up the T line, which is this yellow line here that you see, and or the 5 EMA. I quite often like to know where those levels are because they often come back and become relevant. And as you can see on the 4-hour, we tagged that level again, came close again, and then spent some time here on the 4-hour before it actually did kind of take off. And the point is that at some point in time, all of these levels that we create will come back and get checked for the most part, unless they're crazy, crazy extreme. I guess last session we had kind of tagged this level here as something to pay attention to. So ultimately on this 4-hour chart, and I want to show you the 4-hour because you'll be able to see this consolidation sideways. And this line in here, this thin blue line, is called the point of control on the volume profile. And it's just basically measuring the most consolidated base of price and volume. And the fact that price has held it thus far, we've had red candles, we've had green candles, but the fact that since we made the high, we haven't broken it, I interpret that as a more bullish signal than anything else. It's interesting that today's candle looked pretty ugly for a while. This level in here is somewhat structural. That's why this line's there. And it would, if it was to break this line, then I think we're going to come back and tag down here. But it's just a simple exercise of levels. But I think on a more macro scale, if we go to the weekly chart, this is still a very bullish chart.
Yeah.
And the way I analyze a chart, as you know, is actually quite simple. I use fibs, fractal analysis, and filters as the bulk of my analysis. And you know, the effectiveness of Fibonacci's can't really be argued. The filters we show all the time, and one of the examples, quite simply, is just using a T line and the 5 EMA as a trigger, as a very, very, very most basic way to filter price action. And what you'll notice is that, although this is a weekly, this would be relevant on any time frame, that as long as you have price trading up the T line and or the 5 EMA, and that divergence between those two levels stays intact, as it does here, even on sideways action and stuff like that, you have the ability to stay in the trade. It's when it breaks and goes, you know, in this case, it went sideways, that you would exit the trade. But it's a very clean way. You know, here's another uptrend here. There's your entry signal. It's based off the T line and the 5 EMA. And then in the background, there are stochastic RSI and a few other things working to filter out as many false signals as possible and only give us the real ones, right? So that would be an entry. And then you can see that divergence. And even in all this chaos on a weekly chart, you know, sell price held the level, right? It held the level until here when it finally decided to break down. But as long as that divergence is intact, you're okay to stay in the trade. On our new script, you'll see the shorter term 5 EMA on any time frame. When it senses a fade, it turns red. It goes from white to red. And that's just something that I've programmed in to try and allow me to get a better entry if the setup makes sense. But ultimately, that's your entry candle short, and that would be your entry candle long. But I think this is still a bullish chart, Rico. And, you know, technical analysis is the language of the market. It's a real-time representation of what money is doing and not what people are saying. And regardless of whether we feel a move is justified, the chart doesn't lie, right? The chart is very clear in telling us what it's doing. And, you know, a really good example of that is the US dollar index, which is DXY. And this is a 4-hour chart. And this is something that I was actually looking at yesterday. We talked about it in our stream. I simply just quickly looked at this chart and dropped a level on here. I'm able to connect some tops and bottoms of candles that are kind of showing that that's an area of support and resistance. It lines up with the T line and or the 5 EMA, so that makes me more comfortable. And that was a target, 97,350. I didn't think it was going to hit yesterday when I drew it, but it did. That doesn't always happen. But what was more interesting, and just talking about the relevance of Fibonacci's on your charts, is all I did, and this was, of course, after the fact, I just said, hey, I should drop fibs on this chart. So I take the swing low down here to the swing high and connect it. And lo and behold, 618 was literally sitting right on top of the level that I had drawn. So they work and they're real. And, you know, that level is a target. That's why I put it there. The fact that 618 lined up perfectly with it is just an added validation that the target was probably correct. The fact that we broke down and we're continuing to pull back is just the sign that we're in a little worse shape than maybe we thought. Let's put it that way.
You know, I see Dabatola having some fun in the chat, just to talk about BTC again really quick. And we're going to dive deep on some things. I want you guys to definitely get your notepads out, because I was actually talking about some similar things. I'm going to show my chart really quick. And actually, you got it up right there. These exact prices with, you don't got to be sorry. We're having fun.
That's right. No, I love doing this.
Yeah, exactly. But those exact levels, I was talking to Dabatola and actually talking to Doodogenic, some solid chads in the space. I'm going to be joining them later on to have some fun on some degening gambling stuff that they're doing with crypto. But I seen them on lives having so much fun that I got to join them. But I told them, I said maybe we see that 116 level once again, and if we do, then we fill the gap. And I'm actually going to share my screen because if you guys have been, tapped in with me lately, you guys know that I've been talking about filling these gaps. And this is where I got it from, honestly. And this is where, and none of this will get the cliche out the way. It's not financial advice. But if you really hone in on this, you guys can pull some of this stuff. I'm not a genius. I'm not up here. I'm not a guru floating around on a magic carpet better than anybody. I just been locked in. And I really want you guys to lock in with me. And when you guys can accept that the chart moves up and the chart moves down, and you have some indicators to help you understand this, you can really become really sharp, right? You have to become indifferent to the price, whether the price is going up or the price is going down. That doesn't matter, right? You can't get caught up. You got your main bags, your conviction bags, but if you have a futures account and you're trading, you have to be indifferent from price and literally snap to it. And look, this volume profile, if you are trading futures, put this thing on here because funny enough, that same level that he was talking about earlier, or I was talking to Dabatola earlier, that 116 level is where Blumhouse has exactly where, that supports that. And, I look at this right here. I see, not a strong candle on the 50 moving average. If I add the Blumhouse, there's going to be a sell signal. Do you wait for this? Sometimes I'll see a short right here. I'm okay with that. And sometimes the market gets too bent out of shape where they can't handle a pullback and they think it's all over. And it's like, if you monetize the chart, and this is something from you, Blunt, you monetize the chart, it's something that nobody can take away from you. The whole market can be mad that there's a pullback, but on the contrary, you're happy because, maybe you use these indicators. And I know on the weekly, Bitcoin's looking bullish, but in these short periods of these short movements where it gets a little bit bearish, look at this 4-hour chart breaking the 50 moving average. We see this volume gap right here. It's like if it broke these previous ways low, this 116 here, this 116 here, you could find yourself in a nice short position and see Bitcoin come down to 106. That doesn't mean that the world's over. We're not here to flood everybody's bag. We're here to give you guys opportunity to either make, some money, which is not financial advice. Let's clear that for both of us, whether you guys can monetize the chart going up or down. And so Blunt, I just had to add that right there. I'll bring your screen back up if you want to add something to that.
Well, that level that you have on there, Rico, is structural. And you'll see it on my chart here. It's exactly the same level, and that turns out now to be structural. This level here, you notice how it basically eats up these big fluffy candles?
Yeah, fairy dust.
Right? That's a really good illustration of what those parabolic candles, when I say parabolic, the ones that are just exuberant and big giant candles, they're just filled with air. So when price comes back to test them on a retrace, there's not a lot within them to hold price up. And that's why you can eat up those gaps both up and down pretty quick.
Yes.
Right? So, right now, the fact that you're holding the point of control all this time has been positive, but sooner or later, if it doesn't take another serious run at the former high, then you have to start looking to the downside. And that just means that it just is a little tired and it's going to look to take a seat somewhere. That seat could be, at this level here. It might find enough structural support, takes a little rest and gears up and goes again. Or it needs more and falls quicker. And it's all we do to try and find these areas are just add levels, right? And that's what the moving averages are on your chart, is they're just representations of time and price, right? But they're not just lines. So anyone says, oh, those are just lines on a chart. No, they're not lines on a chart. And if you think that they are, and they mean nothing, then you got to go, a little farther back to school, because that's not what they are. They are representation of what money did.
Right.
And we know that current price likes to revisit past price. And these levels of, whether they be moving averages, they will align with areas of past price to the left. And that's how you know they're real. And that's why when price comes back and tags these levels and you look, you condense your chart and you look to the left and you go, that's weird. It's the same level from 6 months ago.
Right.
And again, it's just because all this stuff repeats. So if we break the 20 and the 50-day moving average here on the 4-hour, where do we go? We're probably going to start to see pressure to the downside at the next major moving average, which is the 100, which lines up perfectly with the bottom of these candles through here and
Right.
this structural level that we basically drew before as well. So, this is probably more appropriate, right? Like that. But there, it's 116. That's probably in line with yours. And that's the 100-day moving average.
Yeah.
Now, if you don't hold this level, what happens? You've got a bigger problem because now you've fallen into the gap. And when you break one level and you find the next, well, the same would apply here. You'll break this level and eventually find the next.
I swear. And I want to say something on this right here about like when it breaks his level. And I want you guys, look, you guys see me grinning over here because I want you guys to be excited to be able to fill these gaps. Okay. These gaps will print for you. Okay. Now I want everybody to take a minute. I want you to go in your brain. I see Dabatola about to light up with us. Light up. We got Blunt House right here. Dabatola, take a dab for us. But I want you guys to imagine when you guys have been in some trades and you're trying to figure out why the pattern looked the same. Maybe you did a head and shoulders pattern. Maybe you did a Bart Simpson pattern. Who knows what pattern you found that you like, that you found. But sometimes it's a runner, but sometimes it's not, right? This is how you're able to find out when it's a hero and it's a zero. It's not that you actually don't have a solid strategy. Is that the minute that you might be applying it, it might not be the time to go. And I found that when I fill these gaps, I mean, I have one of the biggest smirks in my face, like the trade that I did today. It was on CFX. You could do it on Bitcoin. You could do it on CFX. You can do it on whichever one you guys like. And you guys, when you see these gaps that we're showing you on that volume profile, it is extremely powerful, and you'll start to have fun. It's like almost like a video game, a car driving game, and you go through a boost zone, and that's where you find the runners. You'll find the runners where, like Blunt says, and I've been using a lot of his analogies, where something was filled up with fairy dust before. When we had that, we had that movement that just went up for no reason. Well, when you look at the volume profile, you guys have noticed that fairy dust has a gap in there, and you're able to trade that, whether it's up or whether it's down. You have the ability to trade that. So I think we got some bullish ideas on Bitcoin. I want to go through some of these tickers because we've been getting a big XRP community as well. And let's break down XRP a little bit for everybody, and just to show everybody can see that this is something you can apply on your XRP baby, on your SUI, whatever it is that you're doing. You'll start to see this, and I want you guys, and I encourage you guys to start a demo account first, and we'll talk about the giveaways in just a bit for BYDFi. We still got $500 giveaway that we're just giving it away. Okay, so it's up to you guys if you guys snatch it up. But I want you guys to either start this demo account, or with some of the giveaways that we do when we load your account, that you practice first and get your strategy down packed. So let's talk about XRP. Shout out to the XRP army. You guys have been killing it on my shorts. Actually, my TikToks have been going really crazy with a lot of XRP people pulling up. So I want to do an XRP segment for them, and just give us your wisdom, Blunt, on XRP right now after this massive run up to all-time high.
Well, the weekly chart tells a story, right? And this is where you have to give the XRP holders and faithful a lot of cred.
Yeah.
Because this is a lot of time, right? This is a lot of time. And some people would interpret that as dead money, right? And that's just the nature of what, trading and investing, right? But that's a demonstration also of their conviction. And now they get their payday. And they're in congratulations to them, to all of them, and they're entitled to pat themselves on the back. But this is where technicals becomes really important. We talk all the time about don't get depressed when your chart does this, like you see on the left here. The longer the flat, usually the larger the pop. This is a textbook example of that. They're not all like this, but you can see what happened. But look, is all we're doing is what we're told, right? We have no idea what comes after each and every candle. This just would have looked like any other day, right? You finally get a signal on that giant thing, right? And you're probably saying to yourself, oh, and this is a weekly, so that's really not fair, but let's go back to the daily. It would have been in here on the daily, and this is what we would have looked at, in all fairness. Right? That's what you would have seen on the daily XRP chart. So you see this, you have a leg down and you printed doji. Now, doji candles at the top and bottom of, up and down legs should always kind of get your attention and make you look at the chart a little more closely. In this case, our indicator script started to give us that white signal on the 5 EMA, which is telling us that money's coming in. We can see the divergence, then we can see the 5 EMA kick up through the T line, which is really, a confirmation that we're going in the right direction. And then you get your confirmation candle. Some of us are saying when we look at this chart, oh, damn it, I missed the move. Why bother buying that candle? It's already, and you're all pissed off, and you know how the drill is. But you don't have to be. All you have to do is just back up your timeline. And this is where fractal analysis is really important. And, let's just, for interest's sake, we can back up to the 4-hour chart. Oh, way over here. Let's go. There's the 4-hour. There was our signal. 22nd. Yesterday at 8 p.m. Just starting to look like more chop, right? And you don't have to take this script has these signals to it because I don't have to think as much anymore, because I'll think myself into a problem, right? So I know the types of setups that I like. So I've just programmed it to keep my head in the right place. And that's by not thinking too much. But here we are, we get our signal, and then boom, price drops. Now, there are going to be people today saying, oh man, if we only would have known, we could have, taken it off at the top. Well, do you have any clues on the top here what did we talk about the doji candle at the bottom? Well, here's a doji candle at the top. Here's an example of your short-term 5 EMA on this daily going from white to red, as opposed to red to white, like we just showed. So we know something's going on. Everyone here is going, oh, shite. But if you backed up your time frame, like if you're trading off your daily, but you don't want to get hit by something that you didn't see coming, just back your time frame up. And you'll get that early cue. So coming out of this consolidation, nothing was happening. You notice where you hit your two tops right at the upper value range? Right, I'm just going to condense this. It just doesn't want to go past there right now. Let's just say that much. You know how sometimes you see gray bars on your volume profile at top quite often? You notice they're not there?
Price discovery.
That was a hard no.
Yep.
Okay, so that was a hard no. And, in the simplest of forms, Rico, so anyone who's new, like maybe you're just starting to learn and you're doing everything you can to take in all kinds of information, which I understand, I've been there. Simplify everything you're doing. That's what this does. And it gives us a clear signal that it's okay to enter the trade. The script is designed to give you a safe, profitable entry and exit, long or short. So this little bit that we pay at the bottom that we feel like we missed out on is just simply the insurance to be on the right side of the trade.
Right.
And by that point, you're going to have a real nice stop positioned in this level, and you're probably very safe. And then that divergence breaks and you're nowhere but up. You see this overextension. We talk about it all the time. Price doesn't like to get too far away from the 5 EMA and the 20 really. And when it does, it pulls back. Yeah. But on this 4-hour, a little bit of a clue when you wicked the upper value range and started to roll. But you had an early sign. Look at the divergence in the T line. and the 5 EMA. And all of this is, if you're wondering, like, how come, this is extended so much more than the other, blah, blah, blah. It's momentum, right? It's the momentum of price falling that's pulling it down. And it's that momentum that creates the divergence, which is telling you that, hey, this is not a little move. And in this case, a real good example, Rico, thanks for bringing XRP up, because you talk about the volume gaps and what happens. This is what we're talking about in real time.
Right there.
It falls off the shelf, right? Falls off the shelf and whoosh, down she goes. You're getting a little pause here. You're getting a little pause here because this is some past price, right? And it's wait till you get down here.
Yeah, I love that. I was actually looking at that 4-hour chart, and that's what it's all about. It's like, here we are on we're on the XRP, but we go from BTC chart. We're over here on an XRP chart as well. And like I said, this is not to FUD anybody's bag, but a lot of times you feel like you're blindsided, or like, we were joking around today and I see Davitola. He's so funny. I'm gonna read this message to you. Actually, I'm gonna show it on the screen because I think it's absolutely hilarious. But somebody's saying they're gonna be bringing you to the massage, Envy, next time. He's gonna get a massage and he just wants you reading charts while he's getting a massage. Oh man, I love these streams. That's why I don't do a scripted show. That's why I don't do. I want to have a good time. I want it to be organic. I want the chat to feel comfortable. I want my guests to feel comfortable. Let's be ourselves. Let's have a good time. Let's educate ourselves and see what we can do. But no, this is a perfect example of, and I'm going to share my screen really quick. We'll be jumping back and forth, having a good time doing this, getting everybody on the same page. But exactly what you're talking about, that's what I'm looking at. And I want to show you guys. You guys don't have to be, when the market's going down, a lot of times people want to panic, start getting rid of their conviction bag when, altcoin season has not really even hit its top, when you could be printing on the side and leave your conviction bag alone, like I do. That's what I do. You guys see me pulling up. I've been doing this from home nonstop, since before the launch of XPX, just pulling up nonstop. And how is that done? Is because I got my main bags parked, my main conviction bags that, of course, you should have bags that you don't touch, but you should also have an opportunity, because like Blunt has said, this is something that nobody can take away from you, whether you use it for a part-time income or just a little bit, or to actually make some real gains from it because you're taking it really serious. This is something that, whether you're doing it on the BTC chart or you're on an XRP chart, you can see these gaps. Anybody can see this gap right here, and you'll notice I use this Blunt House indicator that it gives you the ability. This sell signal, a lot of people would have been like, man, I wish I would have known, just like he said. Well, guess what? There was a way to know. There's a sell signal right here. And me personally, I love the 50 moving average. That's why it's always on here. I get a sell signal and that break of the 50 moving average, and you couple that with a nice little gap on the side. I mean, I'm cheesing. I'm happy, because the odds are right. And nothing's 100%, but the odds are that I'm going to get myself a little runner, because not everybody's using this, right? So people get, even in the shorter time frames, I come all the way down here to, this 15-minute candle. And this is where you can start to eye a quick gap to the upside if you wanted to, right? It's very possible. You see the same gap going this way, but it's just flipped, right? It's like a number 8 sign. It just keeps going round and around and around and around. And fibs and fractals, it is very fractal. And you'll find this as you layer this up into these plays right here. So XRP community, I want to let you guys know, we're very bullish on you guys. It does look like you guys are holding on to the shelf right now. If you guys are noticing that shelf that Blunt was talking about right here on the right, you guys can see that holding on right there. But I don't want to discourage you guys. If we fill the gap, it's not the end of the world for XRP, right? So how low can XRP go again? Well, if we lost a little bit of steam and the market kind of pulled back a little bit, you could see 291 and be like, okay, I can handle that. Or maybe even come down to the lower value range down here to 275 and really giving you the opportunity, when the market heats up again and people are done being fearful, you've already loaded up, and then the market gets greedy and you can turn this thing back around and ride a wave in that direction. So super bullish on XRP. I got a next one. We're going to go through these a little bit, boom, 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 boom. The stream is filling up. We got over 100 people live with us on multiple social media platforms. The next one we're going to do, Blunt, and I'm putting you on the spot again. We're just going to keep going through all the blue chips, because we have people from so many different communities, whether it's Bitcoin maxis, whether it's Ethereum maxis, Solana maxis. And speaking of Solana, that's the one I want to talk about next. If you don't mind bringing up that Solana chart, giving me your wisdom on Sol. We had a lot of people today. I think I'll put Davitola on blast. He was like, man, I wish I would have known. Well, Davitola, here you go right here. We could have known, and let's find out how we could have known together.
Interesting. So this chart looks very similar. This is a 4-hour. It looks very similar to the XRP chart. And I was going to show you something on the XRP chart, but I think I'm going to be able to do it here as well. So on XRP, we same kind of setup, you know, had nice run up. You see these two equal to these two tops like this. So if I was looking at this chart and I was here at the start of this 4-hour candle, and I could tell that it didn't want to break the candle to the left, I'd probably be shorting it, along with the fact that my 5 EMA on the 4-hour had already started to sense the fade. One of the things that we talk about in our stream that I think I'm going to be able to demonstrate here, and if not, we're going to go back to XRP. But when you are trading above the 20-day, the 50-day, and the 200-day moving average, I kind of assume that's what we were doing here. You have to understand, because this is what you're doing, right? You know, you're just chugging along. This is a 4-hour chart. Look where you get nice support off the 200 on this time frame, and all your other averages are kind of twisting together. So you know you're breaking a consolidative phase. You get your buy signal, and boom, up you go. You're staircasing this, right? Up, sideways, up, a little bit down here, but you get support from the 50 and the beat goes on. Support from the 20, here's staircase up, sideways, support from the 20. Price moves higher, but all of a sudden things start looking a little bit different up here. And when you're trading above the 20, 50, and 200-day moving average on any time frame, you have to understand that at some point you're going to come back and test those levels. Now, we know that first attempts up or down, like if we're moving up, right? The first attempt at a major moving average usually fails. The second and third and fourth, the probability continues to go up, right? On the way back, the first time you touch a major moving average, on this retrace, it's the 50, for example, chances are you're going to bounce. The probability is much higher, and that's what you do, right? You get support at the 50 and then eventually move up and the beat goes on. However, you can start to see, look at your stochastic RSI and your Fisher transform and your MACD. The reason I have them in this order with the stochastic RSI first, the Fisher second, and then the MACD is because 90% of the time, that's the order that they trigger in. And when I say trigger, what am I looking for? Well, if I'm going to call myself anything, it would be a swing trader. So I like to catch, you know, the tops of moves to short and bottoms to long, right? And the stochastic RSI was well overbought, and gives us kind of that instance where you have a cross down. The stochastic RSI, you do not trade every single tiny little cross, but the ones that are overbought or oversold and create this instant divergence, those are the ones that I like to see. And that's all part of the setup that I like to see. So we're seeing that, which tells us what? It tells us that the move is beginning to get exhausted. So you see how long you can stay overbought, right? That basically means the buyers haven't left the building. But when the stochastic RSI starts to break and roll over and create that divergence that we showed, that's the slow exit. So that's the smart money exiting before other people pick it up. Then what's the next thing that we see? Well, look at that, right?
Yeah.
What's that look like? So it's not just price that will give us little clues on, you know, double tops, double bottoms, head and shoulders. Your quick moving indicators will do the same, but the Fisher transform is so good for trend because it also filters noise. It's a filter as well because it uses a Gaussian channel. That's why this stays so clean. And one of the reasons that I trust it so much, right? And then your MACD, your moving average and signal line well above zero, obviously, but nothing lasts forever. And, look how hot it was. You've made higher tops. There's just more money coming in. Price keeps going up, but eventually it has to take a pause. And, we're moving down. Does it mean that this whole thing is going to end? And no, it doesn't mean that. But everything was overbought and it's taking a pause. You were trading above those 3 major moving averages. So you have to be aware that you could roll over and start to test. You don't know you're going to fail. You could bounce and take out this high. But that's not what happened. You broke the 20, break one level, you're going to find the next. Right? And look at all this past price here as a draw. Current price looks for past.
Yeah, it does.
And if you don't hold at the 50, it's not the first attempt. So you have to take that into account. If you don't hold the 50, you're going to look for the 200. And it's, it becomes a momentum game. You could hit the 50. Your stochastic RSI might start to kick up and the trend starts to slowly change and then everything else follows. When the moving average and signal line is above zero, and this is just something that I've noticed over years and years. So you have a pullback like this, everything else starts to roll over. Moving average and signal line on the MACD do it as well, but they never break zero. And on that first way down, they actually arc up and move higher again, which means that price bounces, right? And if that's the case, you start to look at the previous wave's high, which is, where are we at? 205, something like that?
Right now we're at 188.
Yeah, the previous high is 205, I think.
Yeah. 205.88. Yep.
Yeah. So if you were to break down and bounce at the 50, you'd be hoping as a trader to take out that previous wave's high. You fail here, well, we know what happens. But
Very
this is
true.
not a catastrophe. This is an acceptable range.
It is.
Yeah. So you don't want to panic people when we talk about this. It's like, it's not that the sky is falling. Nothing goes straight up and nothing goes straight down. So you have to understand that these retracements are healthy and necessary. I wish I could say the same about markets, just as an example, because they're not taking any sort of a break at all. Right? They just want to go straight up all the time. Right. And, this was from yesterday, I guess, but this is a premium, right? We know that this is super light trading. We know it's price exploration.
Right.
It's essentially a premium. Here's the value down here.
Right.
And if this thing rolls over and starts to pull back, are we trading above the 20, 50, and 200 on the weekly? Yeah. A pullback to, let's say, 580 sounds catastrophic, but when you look at the chart, well, it's just the 20 and the 50. Not a big deal. It's just because price goes parabolic that these pullback ranges feel that way. But the regular markets are not taking any time to pause at all. So
no, they're not. I want to go back to Solana really quick. I see Davatola having fun in the chat, and that's what's nice about these live streams, Blunt. And I'm glad to have you up here. Is that we get to interact with these crazy guys that are all over the place, right? And Davatola is a really huge chat in the space. He's a quote unquote, what they call us influencers and KOLs or whatnot, but he's just a real one in the space. And earlier today, we were in Doodle's we were in Doodle's thing. He was like, man, only if I would have known, I would have traded it. And I gotta shield your indicator. You're a very humble man, very wise and kind, and giving this information. But this indicator right here is where it gives you that instant, hey, you would have known, right? And then you couple it with all these other things, because right here, hours ago, we got this printed right here on Solana. It hit its all-time high, it started pumping, and it did this pump. But that's it. There's no more price discovery right there. So we got to come back. It's just like breathing. You can't just breathe in nonstop. You got to breathe out. So this thing's taking its breath, and using the volume profile, using this indicator, when you put it together, can give you an idea. Hey, I can see this gap right here. I also see the 50 moving average. So I can very easily see price come down to 180. If I got my sell signal at 200 and I could see this gap and I could say, maybe I go heavy on a leverage trade right here, not financial advice. I go crazy on this thing. And I at least, you know, my first take profit is right here, the first bounce on 180. If it breaks that and goes even lower, I'll set my second take profit down here at 163. You know, I don't think that we'll see Solana go that low. I think it's going to come down to this shelf where it was at before at like around 177. We see a lot of value right here on the right side. But, you know, you didn't have to miss out on that short trade. You honestly didn't. What's the indicator? It's the indicator by the guy we got on stage right now. How often do we get somebody who made the indicator that's on TradingView on the show? That's why this is a special event. So you guys better smash the like button. But no, here you guys go. I'm gonna post his website right here, Blunt House right here. I mean, he's 420 friendly. No.
Just to kind of update everybody too. So the indicator that you're looking at that Rico had on his screen was obviously the original version. And it's not, I don't want to say that it's, it's a quote unquote indicator. It's a series of indicators that are part of a system in a methodology about how I trade. And a lot of that is based on a volume profile. The fibs, which are always going to be part of your TradingView package, fractals that need to be taught. But part of the system are all these levels that we've shown, like I showed you on some of my charts with the different moving averages. The new script actually has the ability to hold, I think, 9 moving averages. So if you're on TradingView and you don't have one of the super expensive premium subscriptions and you don't have enough indicators, you could run this one indicator and trade the Blunt House system without any hiccups at all. And I'm going to actually add a parabolic SARS to it, so that, because you've got Heiken Ashis on right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add parabolics to the script and publish an update. So the
parabolic
update,
SARS, my baby. That thing, I use this one right here. That's an indicator that has a plethora of them all together. It has a 200 moving average and it has a parabolic SAR, but it also has the Ichimoto cloud, which a lot of people don't really talk about, but you can see this green cloud and the red cloud. I just don't show it on stream because if you zoom out and you show everybody on stream this, they're like, oh yeah, forget it. I'm not trading nothing. You can forget about it. But this is what I was using back in the day before I met Blunt. I was using, so this is what my chart would look like before Blunt House, actually without the volume profile. So I've always been a trader that likes to follow the trends, and the Blunt House indicator is one that really helps you lock in on these trends, and when you couple these things together, it really gives you an edge. We got somebody asking down below, and we'll put some pressure on Blunt House because this is a live, unrecorded, non-scripted show. Somebody asked, what's the price on the indicator? How can they go about getting it? And is there any discounts from them getting it? I'm adding this for you guys because I love this chat so much. Are there any discounts or referral code for everybody in the chat right now? So we got 131 people live. So
that's awesome. So the original script that Rico was running is a private invite-only TradingView script, and there's a background story on why we have to do it that way. So what would happen is that you would connect with me on TradingView and you would just send me a message just saying, hey, I want to try your script. And then we can kind of kick off the process. It is a subscription. The original script is $99 a month, which I think pays for itself pretty quickly. The update that I was going to do, I was actually going to charge a little bit more for it, but I think what I'll do is I'm probably just going to put it out there based on some of the stuff that Rico just said. I think I'm just going to put it out there at the same price. And what that gives you, if I'll just go back to my screen so that you can get an idea, within the script itself, if I go right into the, so it gives you the ability to have 9 moving averages, and you can set the averages any way you want. So I use a T line, which is an exponential moving average, and a 5 EMA as a trigger. But everything else I run is simple. So I've kind of allowed the ability for us to use any sort of moving average that you want. Weighted, VWAP, Hull, whatever you want. You have that flexibility. The first indicator, so the shortest one, which is my 5 EMA, has the ability to give me a bull bear color, and that's why you see it go from white to red. These are just all of the other averages that I put in. I put everything from a 20, a 50, a 100, a 200, a 500, and a 1000. And because everything is fractal, those longer term moving averages are extremely relevant on the shorter time frames because they're also helping you define a range. Okay. You can set alerts of all different sorts. Here's your volume profile that you can toggle on and off. All kinds of different alerts that you can set. If you
can I add something in really quick, Blunt? I don't mean to cut you off, because we got, everybody's in the chat, and I have the first version, which honestly it's absolutely amazing. And this updated version, honestly, guys, if you guys pay for TradingView, and you guys know I paid for like a very premium version of TradingView, allows me to do all this stuff. It's expensive for the average person to be able to do this, so you almost get a cheat code by not having to get a crazy, over $500 TradingView account and get this indicator that's $100, because now we're going to hold them to it, right?
Yeah, no, I'm stuck. Yeah, I'm committed now.
He's committed now. But what it does, instead of like, go to your TradingView right now. If you guys, a matter of fact, after this live stream, because we got 140 people, we don't want to lose you guys up in here. But when you get a chance, go to your TradingView and try to add a bunch of indicators. And it's going to only let you add like 2. Back in the day, it used to let you add, like, think like up to 5, and then they brought it down to 3. And I remember I found a cheat code because I got 4 screens in front of me that if I opened a tab on another screen, I could set it up with different indicators and use it a little bit more free for longer, right? But eventually you get to this point where you want to get it just right, and you're locked in all the way. With this one indicator, you can have all these indicators. He's going to add the SAR too, which is super bullish and makes me really, have to probably get that one as well. But this allows you guys to not have to pay a huge subscription just so you guys can have all these indicators and give you guys an advantage. So just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. And I think, once you understand that, like, to your point, there's a rhythm, right? There's like the market will inhale and exhale. It's like its own ecosystem or environment. And what we do here, it's just money in, money out, right? Here's money in. This is money out. Where does the money go? I don't know. Let's throw some fibs up here. Swing low. Let's take it up to the swing high. We're 618, right in here. It's kind of, when you look at the daily, you can see there's enough past price in there for that to make sense just at first glance. We throw on, I'm just going to do this quickly. There's our 20, there's our 50, and there's our 200. So there's a lot in there for price to be drawn to. Right? You're trading over the 20, the 50, and the 200, so you're vulnerable to a pullback. You break the T line and you drag the 5 EMA down through it, you will kind of change the trend, and then price will look for the 20 and the 200 and the 50 and whatever else is in there as it sits in the middle of a volume gap. So, that's where I'd be short. That's where I'd be short to, right in here, or even the POC. And it's not a reflection of whether or not we like the asset. It's just a reflection of what price is doing on the chart. It doesn't change. You can be bullish and bearish something at the same time. You can be a long-term holder of Solana and short the smaller time frames to further fund your acquisition, if that's the way you were looking at it. So you can be bullish and bearish at the same time.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can monetize the chart very easily. Leave your conviction bags alone. Use this indicator And another thing, and I'm actually going to show Feg token on here. I know we got a lot of gorillas. Let me share this screen really quick. We're knocking it out the park today, Blunt. And people would have swear that we did this, like we rehearsed this or something. They're like, oh my God, these guys. But this is the flow. But I do want you guys to come over here, give Feg token a follow. And if you guys want to do more of these streams, and kind of tap in, follow Blunt, and he's always live inside of the Feg token chat. We have a lot of links for you guys right here. He has a bunch of you guys for non-KYC. I know there's a lot of people pulling up for the giveaway, so I'm going to share this link right now for you guys who are interested in the giveaway. Make sure you guys use this referral code right here. I'm going to post it for you guys in the chat right now for those looking to start an account. And I also want to post Blunt House right here, because there's a lot of other options. You got Blowfin, you got BYDFi as well, you got Weeks. So I actually want to post this. If you guys are looking for some exchanges, maybe it's not that one, maybe it's not this one, maybe you guys find one on there. But if you do sign up for BYDFi and you do use this referral code, I do want you guys to join this trade group right here. You have to join this trade group. It is absolutely free. And this is how we did this trade today that we showed you guys, as far as that 140% gains. If you guys just join that, use these indicators to give you an edge, and you guys can go ahead and use BYDFi to get you in a nice position like this and print. It is very doable. Now, this thing came up inside of that trade group because there's signals for swings and there's signals for those who just want to do some quick scalps, right? So whether you're wanting to scalp, like what I usually like to do, I want to get done within that same day, and I'm in and out and I feel good and I go relax, enjoy a nice cigar, and let the sun hit me. That's perfect. I don't want to be in it too long because I can psych myself out. That's why I got this indicator from Blunt. If you're one of those people that you can psych yourself out holding it too long or whatnot, hold yourself accountable, and then make some adjustments around this so that you can start to turn some green in this market, which you guys totally can. So if you guys are interested in that giveaway, if you guys are pulling up for that giveaway inside of that TG, not only would you guys get signals for the scalps, but you guys also get your accounts loaded. Okay. I'm squeezing BYDFi to everything that they got to load your guys' accounts. It's on a first come, first serve basis. I had a talk with them yesterday. I said, hey, are we running another one? I want to make sure these guys are, incentivized to pull up. Let's load their accounts so they can see what's going on. I'm going to keep squeezing them. They got more money to give you guys. I'm going to make sure that you guys get that money and you guys can learn with some of these funds that we're handing out. You guys can apply some of these indicators, some of this method that we're showing you guys, and also start a demo account. You guys can apply this stuff and see if it makes sense for you guys. BYDFi gives you guys a lot of options as far as an exchange. You guys can trade on the CEX version, do all the blue chips. You guys can also go to MoonX. If you guys want to go full Degen mode, you guys can move your funds. Yeah, they can move.
I got lost in there one day, I admit. Yeah.
Oh, you were in there?
Oh, yeah, I got lost, yeah.
If you guys want to get lost how Blunt House got lost, go to MoonX right here. You guys can go on the BSC network. You guys can also go to Solana. Click on new listings. You guys can play Rug Roulette. Let me know how that goes. Or you guys can hit the next biggest meme coin for all I know. I don't know. But what's nice is that you guys can do it all in one spot. And this also says a lot about cryptocurrency. I'm sure that nobody would have ever thought that exchanges were giving people that ease of access straight into, the pump fund tokens that are going live, or the tokens that are going live on BSC. So all of that right here. And obviously you got myself, shilling BYDFi. You also got somebody like Blunt shilling BYDFi. So it's a great exchange. You guys don't have to do KYC. You guys can trade, make some money. And I think their UI is really clean. It reminds me of the UI from Binance when I first started trading in 2017. It's one of the cleanest, non-clunky UIs that I've used out there, to be honest with you guys.
That's 100%. So I always, like, part of the problem is, like, I've got, BYDFi and Blowfin and Weeks and Exolix, which is more of a swap, but it has bloody everything. The problem in this space is that the geo locks or stuff is a bit of a problem, right? So you almost need to have access to more than one exchange. So
yeah.
One of the things I'd like to do quick is I'm going to show you a chart of BNB, and just sometimes it's difficult for people to say or to visualize how these things unfold, right? And this is a simple 1 hour chart. A lot of you might trade 1 hour charts. Volume profile, and the only thing that's running on here is our script. So you have a 5 EMA and a T line, of course, the volume profile. Obviously had a bit of a top, right? And you were getting a clear signal. But we talk about, as clean as this is, clean entries and clean exits and real nice entry long and a nice entry short, very clean. But once you're into it, you're asking yourself, okay, where could it be going and where should I be maybe thinking about exiting, right? We know the trend that we're in is confirmed down, right? We can see that.
Mm-hmm.
And quite often, this is a really good example. You have an impulse move down. You have a little bit of a pause or a move up in this case, but it doesn't break any critical level. The divergence is still intact, because all you did was, wick the T line and the 5 EMA, and then this candle shows up. Its max was the T line as well. This movement higher, same thing, right? Impulse down, retrace, divergence holds, move back down, retrace higher, divergence holds, and you're failing all over again. You don't take anything seriously until you see this again. This is still a downtrend. These are just green candles in a bigger downtrend. But where does price go? Let's try and put some context around it. And I think that's sometimes what we miss when we're just looking at charts quickly, trying to figure out what's going on the chart. So that's the 20-day moving average. So we know typically we're supposed to get a little bit of a support at a major moving average. But what did we do here? We split it in half like it wasn't even there. There's a message in that, right? When you break an average with some velocity, usually cites a bigger move, right? Okay, so we blasted through the 20, but where's price going, right? Well, the next level is the 50. So not only are we struggling with this retrace, trying to reverse a trend, which means it has to have enough momentum to pull your short-term 5 EMA up through your T line and change the stochastic RSI and a few other parameters in the background to give you a confirmed signal. And that's not what we have. To make it worse, what are we banging our head on? The 50. So we've fallen through the ice, and now we got to try and get back up. And that's, easier said than done. And, now we have to figure out where the 200 is, because, are we still trending higher? Yeah, these are higher lows. But if this fails, you got to look down here, or at the very least, you're going to take out the previous wave's low. And if that doesn't hold, you take out that low, and so on, and brings you back down eventually to the 200, where there's all kinds of past price, right? That's kind of how these breakdowns work. And if we just continue to add these different averages, they just continue to give us ranges. And, people will say, oh my God, there's no way you're going to come back and tag that 1000 MA amber. Look how far away it is. And then 6 days later, they're like, damn, how'd that happen? Right? Because, current price we'll look for past in the event of a downtrend and a continuous breakdown. That's how it goes. Right. And we're not here to offend anybody. We're just simply looking for examples of what that looks like. It happens in stocks. It happens in commodities. This is United Healthcare. Right. It's trading at 292. And when it kind of started doing this, I was asked, where do I think it was going? My number was 268. There's 268. I didn't say it was staying there. I said it was going there. Right? So, and that's what it did. But this is a really good example, because this is a weekly chart. Look at this big ass gap, Rico.
Yeah.
Right? Created by this. This is still a downtrend. This is still a confirmed downtrend from April. This is, as far as I'm concerned, this week, this is just simply a green candle in a downtrend.
Yeah. I mean,
Right.
it's so far away from the 50 moving average that it's like, forget about it.
Yeah.
It's not even close to it.
The 20, when it does meet the 20, it's going to get smacked on the head like a sledgehammer. But I actually think this is what it really wants. It wants $200. I know that sounds batshit crazy. I get it. But why is that? Why is this here? Why this number? Well, if we back this chart up, it's just like earlier where we say, hey, let's just draw some levels and figure out where past price has been, because it's usually a cue to where current price may want to go.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Well, have we broken the 20? Yep. The 50? Uh-huh. The 200? Yep. 100? Absolutely. Did we break the 500? Uh-huh. So now we're looking for the 1,000-day moving average. Now, it's not going to be tomorrow. Nothing goes straight up or down, but can we maybe see over time how we could end up here? Yes. As unreasonable as it sounds. And I can assure you, 268 was unreasonable for people. 340 was unreasonable. This is a weekly chart. Some people believe that you'd never break structure at 470. Right? But the chart's telling us what we're doing. Big candle breaks the 20, finds the 50, breaks the 50, finds the 200. Not making this shit up. This is, this is how it happens, right? Here's your 200, and it actually was the point of control as well, right at this intersection. Price bounces. Where does it bounce to? The 20. The 50 first, where it caught, 3 weeks of resistance. Then it breaks through and finds the 20. Is this a first touch? Yes. It failed. Right back down. This is just chaotic price action, but let's take our candles off for a second. This is a weekly chart, so probably not fair, but look at this. Points and flats indicate change in direction. So when you have short-term indicators or moving averages, this is a short, like these are, and you get a point like that, that's a sudden change in price. You could easily get it point downwards and spike up and a big snap back up, but this is a major failure at the 50.
Yeah.
Right? That's not a good look in any book, right?
What I want to say for that one right there, that I've been using this one as well. That's the case of the first mouse gets to squeeze and the second one gets to cheese.
Yeah.
That's it'll break down.
And I can't take credit for that. That's our friend Carpathia who kind of told me that, right? But it's brilliant. Yeah. It's true. And it's representative of those first attempts that fail. And
Yep.
But going back to this level, Rico, you've broken one level. Price is going to want to find the next. It is just a market behavior, right? And the only thing that's going to change it is a ton of money to move the price higher.
Right.
This level here, the bottom of these candles, the fact that it lines up perfectly with this level just makes me feel confident that eventually we'll tag this.
Right.
Again, I don't say it's going to stay there. I said it's going there.
I got something for you, Blunt. Have you been? It's a two-part. Is there a crypto or maybe an entry that you've been eyeing, waiting for some kind of signal that you're just waiting for it to happen? And is there even like an index that you're actually looking at as well? And then I got a couple of the show as well. But I'm curious to see if you've been eyeing something that's just looking like is really looking for like a great entry, or whether it's for the long or for the short, but something that you've been paying attention to that you think that it could have some gains for some people in the future.
Yeah. So the crypto, here's the thing I love about crypto is the technology.
Right.
Like I'm fascinated by the technology. And as a business person, I look at it as, well, what value does it add or create for my infrastructure, right? And does it take cost out? Does it speed things up? And so on and so on and so on. And that's one of the things that's really cool about blockchain technology. I think right now the focus is on XRP, XLM, XDC, HBAR, all these things that are ISO compliant, because the belief is that that's what's going to be used as the infrastructure for payment processing on the institutional side.
Right.
I think what comes after that is privacy. Right? I think that's what's bubbling underneath the surface, in my opinion, is privacy. So, there's stuff like Monero, which, is a privacy coin that everybody knows about. Just throw a volume profile on here really quick, which is something that that has a lot of obstacles against it. This is actually a little bearish looking chart right now. Right? Like obviously I've been in here drawing some levels, and this is I would entertain a buy level in here, that type of thing. That's all that's for. But I think these privacy things are going to start to get more traction, not in the next month or two, but I mean over the next 6, 12, 18 months, because that's really one of the privacy and security in this space is one of the biggest donut holes there is in it. And I don't know, maybe I'm old fashioned, but when I go to the grocery store to buy groceries, I don't open up my wallet and show the cashier how much money's in there before I pay them. It's none of their business. So I just don't understand, like, that concept of public ledger is kind of weird to me. So privacy, security, and discretion and anonymity is important. So there's Monero. I like Monero. It's a coin. I get it. The other thing I like is this, called Xano. And, this is, I have nothing to do with the project or anything, but it's the technology that fascinates me. And it operates off of, it's basically Monero with a blockchain. It basically uses the same security principles, ring signatures, and so on and so forth.
What market cap is it sitting at?
I knew you were going to ask me that. Maybe somebody can Google it really quick.
What is it called? What's the ticker on that?
ZANO, Xano.
Okay.
And their website is xano.org. And everything that happens on the Xano blockchain is private. Everything. So not only is, the coin has its, is private and secure, but everything that happens on that blockchain. So there are, whether it be a trading platform, a swap, there's a peer-to-peer buying section, but it's all done privately. And it actually even has, someone's produced a stable coin on Xano. So I think it's FUSD. So you could have, $10,000 in USDT in your wallet, and anybody can see that you have that. If it's on the Xano chain, it's anonymous. You can't see it. It's nice. Again, it's obscured like Monero.
It's definitely it's had its pump up for sure. It's sitting at $123 million market cap. So, sitting at 345 on Coin Market Cap. And yeah, I mean, I haven't heard nobody really talking about this. It's definitely something I'll look into.
Yeah, here's the cool part. So there's a project that will be operating on the Bridgeless chain, which I think is a new blockchain. And it's called Confidential Layer. And through Confidential Layer, you can take your Bitcoin and wrap it, and it basically gets put on the Xano blockchain, and it becomes completely anonymous. It turns your Bitcoin into Monero, essentially, or your ETH or whatever else. And I think that is absolutely game-changing.
Yes, it is. Yes, it is.
Right. So I'm just looking at this level down here as maybe something that I would dip my toe in if it holds. If not, well, then I'm hopeful that it would continue to fall level by level, right?
Yeah.
It's funny, when you're a buyer, you're looking for price to break down. And as soon as you buy it, it's like, nope, can't go down anymore. I bought it now. It's got to go straight up. So we know that.
Absolutely.
But yeah, that's coming. What are you looking at?
Me, myself, I've been trading CFX. I'm actually looking for a trade on CFX right now. If you want to bring that one up, that one's pretty nice. I used to be like really into it during the bear market. I was trading it on MEXC. Has to do something with China, something of the sort, and got some really good longs on it. Did a couple of shorts as well, and right now I'm looking for the next long. So it's a CFX, and it's currently at 17 cents. You can find it on Binance.
Yeah, we're looking at it right now.
Oh, yep, there you go. Yep, that's it. On the higher time frames, it's a little bit bearish, like it wants to correct. But like I said, I've been finding, the day's range is around 16 cents to around 18 cents. With a 21x leverage, you can actually print on this thing pretty nice, and it has enough liquidity where the orders get filled right away. So when I want to be out, I'm out, which is nice. I was trading another one that was nice to trade, but it was hard for it to fill the orders. It just didn't have the volume and liquidity like this one does.
When it does make a move, it actually it's decent.
Yeah.
Okay. So, but this is the 30-minute, which is a time frame I actually didn't use a lot until recently, until a friend of mine said that he really likes it, and I can see why. But especially in crypto. But look at the price action you get at the 200 and the 50. So, failing the 200 and the 50-day moving average here is not necessarily what you want to do. And actually you failed the 20 as well. So now you're pushing water uphill a little bit.
Yeah, I've been trading this one on the 15-minute chart, using, like, right now I got a buy signal on the Blunt House right now.
Yeah.
Indicator, and I'm telling you, like, right now I'm gonna just go because
there you go. Yeah.
Because it's right next to. Look, I'm going to share the screen because I'm in action right now, and you guys get to do this with us, and you guys get to see. I appreciate you guys pulling up, all those who are listening. This is a really great episode and something a little bit different for the show, so you guys can see, like, if you were looking at this chart right here, you wouldn't really have too much indication of it really going back up. Now I'm doing some scalps. This is not for everybody because it is, already kind of on the 4-hour chart looking like it wants to come down and test this level down here. So, but this is for somebody a little bit riskier like I've been lately, and actually been doing kind of well doing it. The 50 moving average with this Blunt House indicator lighting up green and this heading in this direction right here to fill this gap. It doesn't have to happen. I'm not predicting that it's going to happen. I'm literally following a treasure map. But when I see this indicator and that it's been consolidating on this point of control for a while, you see this price action right here, boom, 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 boom. Usually when it's going sideways for a while, it's either going to snap up or snap down. If you couple that, like, with it breaking the 50 moving average, and you got that Blunt House indicator lit up green, it's a really nice trade. And then you do some multi-time frame analysis. You come down here, a little choppy on the 5-minute, right? That's why I'm using the 15-minute chart, because it cleans it up. But you can see we also have this on the 5-minute, and we're going to have them on all the lower time frames because it just printed one on the 15-minute candle. But you can see on the lower time frames, we're above the 50 moving average, right? And we got the buy signal, and even on the lower time frames, you can see that there's gaps for this thing to fill. So it's almost incentivized to take off and kind of rip really quick. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to rip to the moon. Doesn't mean that it's going to break new all-time highs. What it means is that you have an opportunity to make a trade happen right there. It's not going to be always guaranteed, and sometimes these things do snap green and they can snap right back red. I actually been waiting for them to close lately. That's kind of like you said, that insurance. You just let the candle close. You get your buy signal. If you couple it with the SAR, which I like, here you guys go. We're headed towards the 50 moving average. We're underneath the 200. If these things can stay bullish in some of these breaks, you can have yourself a nice little run. And this one's been kind of doing good for me in this kind of setup. On the lower time frame, it looks very sketchy and it's kind of very loud. But I've been getting some really simple, nice trades on the 15-minute candle. And it's looking good. Even some shorts that I've done. So this lets you do it whichever way you guys want to. But when you're trading something like this, the CFX on the 15-minute candle, it's been pretty powerful. You probably get 4 or 5 green candles, but with 21x leverage on this one, it actually prints pretty well, guys. So this is what I'm looking at right now, Blunt. You guys can let me know as well. Obviously on the higher time frames, you go to the 4-hour with this indicator. We're clearly in a downtrend right here. We still got the sell signal. We got the parabolic SAR on the top, but that doesn't mean that you don't get little gaps, to trade within on the lower time frames if you're just doing some scalps and stuff. So I've been checking this one out. This is what I've been trading lately. I'll probably trade this for the rest of the day until, you know, the volume dies down. I've actually been getting into a lot of the ones that, like, if you notice right here on the right, it says the average volume it's 853 million. Well, the volume right now is 1.7 billion. So there's a lot of volume right now on this thing right here while the markets are pumping, which allows the trades to go in and out. Now, once I see this volume drop, I'll probably no longer be interested in it because it'll change the momentum. But right now, it's, you know, the average volume is it's trading more volume than than what it usually does on average in the 30 days. So those stats are pretty cool to look at as well. I think there's some cool tools. How do you feel about that, Blunt? What's your insight on, something like this line I'm talking about right here? This average volume is 853 million. But, you know, like today, you know, we got 1.78 billion. And, you know, it's almost easier to trade these that are like breaking their average 30-day volume. They're almost a lot more fun for me to trade. Not sure if we lost Blunt right there. His mic is muted. Maybe he's doing something really quick.
There we go. There we go.
Okay, there you go.
When you've got volume being exceeded, like average volume being exceeded by a large number like this, you have to say to yourself, okay, is this new level of volume going to be consistent? If it isn't, then what's going to happen to price when the volume falls back down to normal? Probably price will fall, right? And again, because we're talking about thin liquidity and things like that, that can happen quickly. What I like about what you were talking about, and this is the 5-minute chart of the same thing, I think it's Binance. And, you know, you've got a sell signal, you're getting a nice green candle at the 20 and 50, and you're looking to move up into a volume gap with, you know, you're probably going to want to take out the point of control in this past price up here, basically taking out the previous high. What I like about what you were showing is the confluence, right? So you've got this 5-minute chart and you can see the upside opportunity. You know, you're working off that 15-minute chart now, and this is where the fractal analysis becomes important. That's basically what multi-time frame analysis is. And you start looking at your 15-minute and you go, okay, well, geez, if I can break this level here, which is essentially the target that we had on the 5-minute, that'd be great. To do that, I actually get to run into a gap and then a bigger gap. So if your 5-minute chart really starts to get bullish, then instantly you're looking at the 15-minute going, geez, am I seeing the same thing on this time frame as well? And if you are, well, you're starting to get the moon, the sun, and the stars line up, and that's your confluence. And really, that is the beginning of what could turn out to be a runner, right? So let's look at our 30-minute chart. Boy, if you can get this thing bid up to get on the north side of the 50 and catch yourself a buy signal, well, the upside opportunity here starts to make sense, right? This is what you're hoping for.
Right.
You've got a good entry off of 5, starts going your way. The 15-minute all of a sudden starts to look similar. And as you start to stretch out your time frames, it looks nicer and nicer. Notice how your short-term 5 EMA has gone white, so it's sensing the money coming in. Right? We want that to hold. So, you know, you pull, you know, what are you looking for, the 50 or that lower value range?
I would like to break the 50 moving average. You know, on right now on this, like, I'm just doing a small trade just for fun with everybody on this, but I've been trading this one pretty nice. But you know, when I get a buy signal and I break that 50 moving average, you know, I can get a nice little run. So I love, you know, I'm not trying to front run. I got my signal. I'm in on it, and you know, if it could fill that gap and break the 50, for the most part, I'll have, you know, a runner, because I'm usually doing it with a gap being filled right there, right? So it'll turn into a runner really easily for me. And you know, it's not always 100%, but you know, if you have your strategy play out and it's been working for you quite a bit, you start to see it. Now, I wouldn't stay in this like where I'm holding it to the moon, because like I said, in the higher time frames, it gets, you know, we're still in a short in a like downtrend basically on the 4-hour chart. You go down to the 1-hour chart. We still got a sell signal. It is starting to consolidate where it can turn back around. This will actually be the nice part where it can turn around this 1-hour chart and go to the point of control, which would be super nice at 22 cents. But, that's a little bit further, and I'm throwing a Hail Mary at that point. I'm trading the 15-minute candle, and, this thing can break this 50 moving average. We can see the upper value range at around 19 cents, and those are some decent gains on the table right there.
Yeah. One of the things that we often forget, and I have to remind myself even today, is that the job is not to front run the chart. The job is just to do what you're told and follow it. And obviously use your learnings and common sense that you've gained over time. I've just thrown fibs on the 4-hour CFX really quick. And, 618 comes down to 15,899. Basically, you've wicked it already, but we're still in a confirmed downtrend. And what I'd be looking for here, Rico, and anyone else that's looking at this chart, is pay attention to these wicks that broke through the T-line and the 5 EMA, but ran away scared. So it's these little tests that fail like that, and then the trend down continues. What I'm thinking might happen here is that this is essentially a failed breakout, and then you roll over and take out this previous wave's low, and you actually could end up back at the 50 on this time frame again.
Yep, for sure.
See these.
That's why once I start my trade, when I start my trade on the 15-minute candle, I don't want to. I'll look at the higher time frames where I know, like, hey, overall this thing has definitely got more oomph to go down. But that doesn't mean that there's not like little scalps of taking advantage of like it going back up to test price and getting these little scalps done like I have been doing and stuff. So
that's right. And take a look, Rico. Like, here's the 15-minute. I'll take the fibs off for a second, but this is a 500-day moving average just on a 15-minute chart. There's your first tag. Probably wants to tag it again, right? If it doesn't hold, what's going to happen? It's going to start to look for this.
Right.
I think one of the things that I think is really relevant is understanding how much time is involved when you look at longer term averages, right? And we often forget that, some of the things we look at, this is a monthly chart of oil. All right. Now, kind of noisy. I'm sorry. Let me take this stuff off here. 500 days. So what's 500 days on a monthly chart? 41 years. 41 years of price history.
Yeah.
That's how much that's what the 500-day moving average represents on a monthly chart. If the 1,000 showed up on here, it would be 84 years of price history, right? And finding support at 40 some odd years of price history is a critical thing. Breaking it is also a critical thing. And I believe that, I've been saying since here that oil's coming to 61, 66, which it did. And I do not believe that this is done yet. Right? This could be a chart of Bitcoin. It could be a chart of IBM. It could be a chart of ETH, FEG, or XPX. Doesn't matter. Right? As soon as I have an opportunity to connect the lower top, I'm going to do that. It just so happens that it became incredibly relevant over time.
It sure did.
Right? And there's a reason why these levels are relevant. Sorry, I just got to take off the volume profile because certain things don't like it. There we go. This is a 1,000-day moving average on a weekly chart. That's probably 40 some odd years. On a monthly chart, it's 80 some odd. It's just as relevant on a daily. Again, this could be anything that you want it to be. Price will behave the same way, right? Look how many times through here, I know this is really condensed, but you are getting support at 1,000 days for a very long time, right? And then you broke it and you failed. chattered along here for a while before you're able to break again. And then it's been nothing but support. The reason it's relevant is because on things that have a lot of trading history, especially commodities, you can identify trends and cycles, which is kind of important. And because we know that current price revisits past, fail one level, find the next. I've taken a lot off this chart, but can you imagine being in a Twitter space or an X space, pardon me, when oil's $95 and everybody in the room says it's going to 120 or 150, and you raise your hand and say it's going to be 70 before it's 100? What kind of a nut people think you are? But that's why we learn how to read price on a chart, right? Simple. Does this doji candle not scream get out to you? That's what you're looking at, right? That's what you're looking at. That's a sell candle. And basically all I said is that I think there's something wrong with the market. Don't ask me what. I can't tell you. I don't know. But for reading charts for 25 years, something's wrong. And I think we're about to break down in a serious way. Where are we going to break down to? Well, you condense your chart and you start to look to the left. And then you try and connect levels of past price, because these levels are friggin' relevant. So as everyone else is laughing at you because they have no context and understanding of the language of the market, your gut's telling you that you're right. And I was not wrong. And I believe that was going to be the number through each of the retraces higher, including this one, because I know that if you're failing, 40 some odd years of price history, you have a problem. And if you're failing 40 years of price history, maybe you have some structural change in the market. Maybe you have a changing cycle. At the end of the day, I don't care what it is all I know is that price go down. And it continue to go down. And when you break one level, you find the next. But when you break levels that represent decades, that's a problem. And when I look at a chart, that comes into my head. I'm breaking decades and decades and decades of price history, and I can't catch a bid no matter what to go up. No matter how great the economy we're told it is, no matter all of this stuff, price going down. Why? I don't care. Is all I know is that it is. And it looks like it wants to find the 61, 66 level again. And how do I know that's a legitimate number? Because on this weekly chart, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 weeks. Is that accidental? No. Was this accidental? No. Neither's this. So if we don't get any support here on the weekly chart, you're already looks like you want to come back to the 500 weekly, but I think you'll break down further. But it's
crazy chart. How much time is it? Like when you start looking at it, how much time is within one candle when you're trading within this one candle. You might feel like you're wrong, and your 5-minute candle is just 5 minutes within an hour candle, or your daily candle is just 1 day within a weekly candle, right? It's really wild how it really works out. But when you start absorbing it on a regular basis and you start consuming it, digesting it, whatever it might be that you're doing with it, rolling it up, like a lot of people on this stream right now. I'm sure we got over 170 people live, so awesome. There's some people rolling up for sure. It's crazy when you start figuring out and you repeat it over and over, you'll get your rhythm. You'll honestly really be able to do this, whether you're looking at the DXY or you're looking at Bitcoin or whatever it might be. You really, and I think there's no better time than right now for even if you take 1 hour out of your day to study a little bit what your strategy is going to be, what kind of method you're going to use, whether you're a swing trader, you're going to be scalping on a daily basis or whatever it might be that you're doing. But this is the time in the market to be practicing this because information is so more available than ever before. Just like this stream that we're having right now, and everybody has access to this. It's in a time where you almost don't have no excuse why you can't learn what you want to learn.
Yeah.
In order to be successful. Is it going to be a little bit boring, when you're trying to learn something brand new? I mean, it's brutal because we got so much entertainment at our fingertips, when you're scrolling up on your phone and stuff, right? And it's like, and I've been using this, and this is somebody from Jim Rohn, is somebody I like quite a bit. You can either, discipline weighs ounces or regret weighs tons. You could deal with the pain of discipline that only weighs ounces, or be living in regret that you never figured out how to monetize the chart, and live with regret that you missed this .com moment. And you want to be able to get this dialed in. And sometimes nobody wants to study. It took me a good solid month to after using the indicator, the Blumhouse indicator, where it's really second nature to me now, the way that I understand it, the way that I see it. But you got to give yourself that opportunity. You can't, beat yourself up right away, or I didn't get it right away, I'm not smart. I'm not, like, don't go down the list of tearing yourself apart. It's like, all you need to do is study a little bit more. Nobody's, on some other high horse higher than you. It just takes a little bit of practice, but anybody can do this. I'm a firm believer that everybody listening to this live stream and people listening to it later on have the capacity to be able to do this. You're on crypto Twitter all day, you're on Telegram groups all day. You have the time, I see you guys all the time. So you have a little bit of extra time to be able to, get some information so you can turn on the printer on a daily basis. Doesn't matter if it's up or down.
I'm going to show you guys, actually, I'm going to switch tabs. So I'm basically, this is a different chart. This is a TrendSpider chart, not a TradingView chart, so it's a little bit different. There's a couple things I want to show you on this chart. The first one is, and I actually subscribe to TrendSpider just for this reason alone. And that is these anchored VWAPs. So this purple line is the anchored VWAP for volume, and this blue line here, and you can actually see it thicken up in that area, is the anchored VWAP for price. And I subscribe to TrendSpider just for these stupid things alone, because I can't seem to replicate them on any other platform. But price is attracted to these VWAPs, the anchored VWAPs, both for volume and price. So when I see price trending along an anchored VWAP like this, I'm automatically thinking if the other anchored VWAP is above it, that it's probably a target. And you can see that, we got a nice move higher here. You can see the divergence, the T line and stuff still applies. So we knew we were moving higher. And then where do you check yourself out? Right at the anchored VWAP. And I trust these things implicitly, right? The anchored VWAPs. Apple is actually an interesting story because there's a lot of question on where this thing wants to go. And if you look at the weekly chart of Apple, you can see up at top there, that purple line is the anchored VWAP for volume, and the solid blue line is for price. And you can see how it's defined a range for itself. So I love this tool on TrendSpider. Then when you start to overlay your moving averages, you can start to get an idea of where your support and resistance levels may be. So, okay, my target would be that the anchored VWAP for volume and or the 50 MA. So I would be comfortable as somewhere I'm up there as a target. However, on the downside, the 200 monthly and the anchored VWAP for price is way down here at 178. And I just can't help but feel like price might not want to look there. If we go to the other Apple chart on the weekly, you can see the point of control is down here at 178, right? 172, close enough, right? So, and there's your weekly at 182. So I'm a little concerned that there's a draw for price on Apple that is far below where it's trading.
So. Yeah, I can see that too. Now that we're speaking about Apple, and let me know in the chat, everybody who's listening in. I see some new people pulling up. Appreciate you guys pulling up. Smash the like button if you guys can. Share this live stream. Really go through all the paces to let everybody know what's up in here. But how do you feel, and how excited are you, somebody who likes to trade, traditional stocks and things like that, finding out that you'll be able to trade things like Apple and Tesla either 24/5, they're going to let us do it, or 24/7 when they allow the tokenization of stocks, and that being, something like for traders to trade 24/7. How do you feel about that?
So, like, I think everybody wants access. And I believe that's what's driving a little bit of this stuff, is that, it's more people having market access is going to create more inflows, and that ultimately would be better for markets. The concern that I have is that the majority of people trading these markets have no understanding of how to read price on a chart. And they don't understand yet how important that actually is, because they haven't had an opportunity to lose a lot of money yet. And right. And look, I'm one of these people that actually believes that this is something that we should be teaching in school, right? Like, how hard would it be to teach in school what we talked about today to high school students? I don't think very difficult at all. In fact, they're probably more capable of absorbing this type of information than I was when I was their age, just because the world is so different. Yep. Like, dude, when I first started doing this, I had to create my own indicators on the chart. Like, you actually literally had to put in all the inputs yourself. Like, things have come a long way, right?
Yeah.
But everybody needs to know this if they're going to be active in markets. Like, you have a nephew who at the time was younger, and I found out that he was trading crypto, but he didn't really have any training. And I'm like, dude, you can't do that, right? Like, you got to have some knowledge. And, fast forward to today, I think he reads candles better than I do. Right?
Nice.
And he's 22 years old. And I think a lot of the people that are probably listening are roughly the same age, maybe, and are wondering, how do I make a difference? How can I, life is hard. I can't get ahead. Just because I'm living in mom's basement doesn't mean I want to. I've got a job, but I don't feel like I can get ahead, and the list goes on, right? Well, this is something that you can do that will literally change your life, right? It is, I believe, probably, in a weekend, I think we could do a boot camp, and you would be completely comfortable trading. And mitigating, not just trading, but mitigating risk and understanding all of that. Like, I really believe that. This is not super hard to do. It is just repetition and following, basic sets of rules. Here's my friend ETHFI that I like to trade, right? I know nothing about this thing other than I love to trade it.
Sometimes that's all you need, right?
Yeah. As long as there's volume. Right. As long as there's volume, so that, when you need to get out, you have someone to sell to.
Mm-hmm.
But this is a very simple 4-hour chart, right? Even the consolidative swings were nice to trade. But just going back to some simple things, we're running a T line, which is the 8 EMA, and the 5 EMA, which is its trigger. And we're getting clear signals. There's our insurance. There's our entry. And believe me, when you exit up here, the last thing you're thinking of is the insurance you paid back here, right? Because you're more than happy. Right. Nice move down. Like, this is just the ebb and flow again of the market. And it's just a matter of repeating the things that the most basic of terms, some of the stuff that we've talked about. Are you trading above the 20, the 50, and the 200? Yep. You know, you've had a nice run, you've tagged them several times. So at some point in time, the retrace is going to give out and it's not going to bounce. You don't know when that is. Let's keep in mind, right? This is what you're looking at on the chart. There's your short candle. You have no idea what comes next, right? Is all you know is that when you break one level, you're going to find the next, right? Look at these 3 candles that go sideways at the 50, but they don't break any trend. This is a real good example. This is what happens to everybody, the fake outs. This could be a 15-minute chart. You'd see this candle. Let's pretend you're not running a T-line and you're not running the 5 EMA. So this is invisible to you. You would see this green candle and you're like, shit, green candle at the 50, I'm buying. And I'm going to take out this previous wave's high at 137. But you're blind if you're not running this, because you're not able to see the direction that it's pointing in, either up or down, and is there divergence there up or down. That's exactly what's happening here. There's your red candle at the 50. There's your green candle at the 50. But what's happening? You're not getting any change in trend here. This is just a green candle in a downtrend.
Yeah, it's
Follow
crazy,
the chart.
man.
Just do what you're told. Follow the chart. Right? Don't worry about the drama.
Something and I just want to tell people, this is something that this, like, being able to identify that as just a green candle in a downtrend, that little simple thing right there, or vice versa, you know, a red candle in an uptrend.
Yeah.
That simple thing has kept me in check, where I'm sure a lot of you guys are actually have had profitable trades, but either you psych yourself out too early, or, you know, when you start to put all of this together, I've constantly seen trades where I would have been like, okay, that's enough profit right there. Like, you know, the trade that I did today, that was 143%. Why didn't I take the profit at 80%? Why didn't I take the profit at 100% or 120? Because it wasn't time to get out yet. And before that, I would have easily got out at 50%. I'd be like, man, 50% gains compared to the traditional market. I mean, who's going to argue with that? Right. But, you know, when you start to hone in and really get this locked in all the way, is where you start to build the confidence where you can let a trade run and let it fill the gap all the way and say, okay, now at 148%, you know, that's good. And sure enough, man, if you look at the price of that CFX and you look at the post that I made earlier today on CFX, you know, I sold at 143% at 18 cents. And when did I get out? Now this thing's trading at 16 cents and 16 and a half cents. So, you know, I was able to ride that wave all the way to that point and then be like, okay, it's done. Getting in at 17 cents and riding it all the way to a little bit past 18 cents, 143%. I'm out. Cool. Sell it, you know, and now, you know, let it come back down and see whether did I want to short it or whatever it might be. But you really let the winners be winners. And this is something I had a problem with. And you guys let me know in the chat if you guys can, or if you can't, it's understandable. But have you ever been in the predicament where you're freaking pessimistic on your winner trade and you're optimistic on your losing trade? Oh my God, what a big mistake to have as far as, you know, your mentality. And here you are, you're in your winning trade, and all you can do is talk about how it's not a winning trade in your head. You're literally working your way to be like, oh, 20%, that's good. I'm out of here. You know?
Yeah.
You're literally go ahead, Blunt.
I totally understand what you're saying. And actually, I used to take a lot of flack from some people that I know because they would accuse me of taking too much risk. Oh, you're in the trade for too long. You know what? You know, so many candles and you should get out. Like, it's just too much risk, and so on and so on and so on. You know the drill. The reason that I would manage my trades the way I did and do is simply because of this. Right? When that divergence is there and prices trading up the one side or down the other, I'm either long or short with conviction. This is a great example. You break the 20, where am I going next? The 50, you break the 50, where are you going next? The 100, you don't hold, where are you going next? The 200. Like, I'm not rubbing a magic ball, or there's no magic here. There's no crystal ball. There's nothing. Like, this is just how price reacts. This is a language. If you believe math is a language, which most reasonable people do, then you have to understand that what we're looking at is a derivative of mathematics, and it's a language unto itself. And once you understand it, you can feel comfortable about, some of the stuff that you're talking about, Rico, where you're going to see a setup like this, right? You're trading well above all these major moving averages, and you just know that at some point in time, it's going to start to roll over, right? And you get excited. And when it does, you know how to manage it now. Okay, I've broken the 20. Awesome. I'm going to find the 50. I broke that. Awesome. I'm going to find the 100 and so on and so on. But the best part is you don't have to guess. The market is telling you to absolutely stay in this trade. That's what you're being told to do by the market, by the money in the market itself, not by anybody else, not by an influencer, not by some rich guy with a big bag or any bullshit like that. That doesn't matter. The chart tells all.
And just to touch on that really quick one more time, it's like, if you guys are listening right now, whether you use the Blunt House indicator, which I love to use, or whatever it might be that you use, if you find yourself, and I'm speaking from experience, fam, this is why I wear my heart on my sleeve. What you see is what you get. If you like me, you're going to love me. If you don't like me, you're going to hate me. But I've been in that position and kind of ignored that little voice, and it's like, it wasn't until like lately that I got it really honed in. And I want you guys to, catch yourself some of that internal dialogue that you start to have after you're in a trade. Notice that you talk to yourself a certain way before the trade. The minute it's real money and it's active, you got a whole different conversation in your head now, right?
That's right.
Yeah, and I want you guys to be able to absorb all this stuff. I know it might be a lot for a lot of you guys. We're going to get Blunt up here some more times as well, so we can have these streams, because there'll come a time where it'll flip on you, where, like, I'm speaking from my personal experience, where I was pessimistic on a winning trade, and I said, okay, 20-30%, that's good enough for me, I'm out of here. And then I'm optimistic on a trade that's falling apart. I'm over here saying, oh, any minute now it's going to come back.
That's the hope trade, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And if you find yourself doing that, you don't got to say it in the chat, but if you do find yourself doing that, let's correct that together. Let's, have these live streams. Let's correct that together, so you can have one of those runners and see what it feels like to see those over 100x gains on a nice trade, because we're not really doing nothing special, but it does take a large amount of discipline and your strategy and the trust in it, where you've seen it so much that you're convinced, hey, I know that this is what's going to be going down with it. I'm following this trade, and like Blunt said, I can manage this trade really good. And you'll find yourself hitting these winners like that. And now you'll turn into like, yes, I'm in a good trade. You're optimistic on your trade that you should be optimistic on. And you'll find yourself not having to sell or like coach yourself out of a trade no more. That's because you'll become pessimistic on a trade that's just falling apart and be like, you know what, this one's not a winner. That's all good. I don't want to manage this trade in the condition that it's in right now. Let me step out of it and reposition myself. Okay. And, yeah, so I mean, if you find yourself, it's not all about the candles and these things. It's a lot to do with this up here and the way that you talk to yourself and the way that you interpret the language that's being shown to you, as far as in the description of candlesticks and whatnot like that. But really, it's letting you guys know what's going on in the chart, man. So I think that, Blunt, I don't want to take up too much of your time. We're rolling over almost to the 2-hour mark.
Wow.
Yeah, I know, right? But we got to do this some more. I have another stream that I'm going to join in an hour, and we're going to prep for that and whatnot. But I don't mean to cut this off or cut everybody off, because honestly, I would have kept it going if I didn't have the other stream going, because this is a lot of information that, at first it might seem like too much for somebody, but I promise you guys, the more we can get Blunt up here and we can work this out with each other, it'll make us better traders. You can go ahead and buy your favorite, token that you want to buy, whether you're doing it on BYD5, whether you're going on Pump Fund or whatever it might be. You can do this and have a good time doing it. Blunt, I hate to cut this short, brother. We're rolling over on a 2-hour mark. I think we had a fantastic stream where we talked about, the Bitcoin. We talked about crypto. We talked about normal stocks. We talked candlesticks, indicators. We also talked about the psychology behind this stuff. If there's any last words that you want to leave this group with, we got over 175 people live with us. Definitely want to have you back up on the show, brother. But any last words for this amazing stream? Leave them with something that you want to get you up on the stream, so we can keep doing this for future. Thank you again, man.
Hey, listen, no problem. You just went a little robot there, but I think I got it. I think the best advice is just to Go slow. Take the time to learn a handful of things like we talked about today really well, and probably trade longer time frames and drop the lev a bit to protect yourself. And other than that, just follow a system like we talked about today, and I think you'll be okay. And it's something that's easy to teach. And believe it or not, once you get in a little bit of rhythm, easy to learn.
Absolutely awesome, Blunt. I'm going to share this screen with you guys one more. I want to share some of this stuff with you guys because it's very important to me, and I want you guys to, show Blunt some hospitality, man. Go ahead and give him a follow. This is for sure his website right here. I'm going to post it in for all you guys that are just tuning in right now. I actually got a couple fire links for you guys right now, and if you guys don't do this, this is like free money sitting on the table because knowledge is power, fam. And here, I got one more link for you guys as well. I went over this right here. You guys have to go over this, okay? You guys have to go over this right here. I'm going to post this link right here. This is some fire info right here. Fibs and fractals and the filters. I need you guys to do this so, we can all win together in this market. I don't want to see nobody mopey. I'm going to be able to sniff it out if you're getting wrecked left and right because you're going to look a little sadder than usual, right? If you guys can come over here, one more link that I have for you guys. Where is it at right here? I want you guys to come over here. Let's get his follows up, man. I swear it's not sometimes in crypto, especially crypto Twitter, it's always the people with large accounts and they're over here leading people down some shady path and stuff, and people are losing money. I mean, Blunt House has 1,047 followers. Let's get these numbers up for this man so people can get some of this information, and maybe we'll get less cheats in the space. People are like, man, somebody's always cheating. Maybe somebody will be able to hold a good position on one of your guys' favorite projects, but give this man a follow over here. What I'm going to leave you guys with today, I'll leave you guys with some XPX because I've seen this amazing community pull up today. Come over here to smartdefi.com. Show some love to not only XPX, but also all of the Smart DeFi projects working really hard. The FEC team grinding not stop. Some great information. I also have another giveaway. There's a lot of things going on with XPX this month. Back the truck up, fam. You guys know we've been here for over 13 months as far as a token, over 10 months on the pay portal, proving to you guys that this is a solid project for all of you guys. And I got this right here. I mean, how beautiful is this? Staking information, that's crazy. Those numbers might be too big for your guys' screen, but that right there says conviction in display. And then I'm going to get to this giveaway. Great collaboration with Zach Humphreys, has over 200,000 subscribers on YouTube. And I want you guys to tap in with this right here. Copy this link where we're going to be giving away some of that CBC merch. And we're also going to be giving away some XPX. If you guys are a project that want to break out of your echo chamber, you guys want to, be able to get your brand out there, and this is a great way to do it. This is much more than just a merch store, fam. I went over and beyond, and the team really exceeded the way that I went about this and took it to the next level to make it where we can get cross-pollination, break out of our echo chambers, at the same time turn a revenue and create a revenue stream with justshopcrypto.com. It's not called XPX merch. It's not called, the merch store. No, it's justshopcrypto.com for a reason, because this will expand from here. So you guys can come over here, check out CBC merch, which is, like I said, Zach Humphreys merch from the Crypto Breakfast Club. They have some amazing spaces, some really solid chads that are super bullish on Ondo, super bullish on RWA. So if you guys want some of those informations and not always meme coins, definitely go to CBC merch. Grab you guys one of these shirts and join them at the Crypto Breakfast Club. Come over here and check out, the hat that I got on right now is looking super fly. I mean, I'm loving it. Marlon, you absolutely knocked it out the park. This is here for all of us. You guys buy your merch, load up, get ready. And also, last but definitely not least, we will be at the Rare Evo event here in Las Vegas. We've already been, XPX has been in Mexico City for the Payment Expo. XPX has been at the BTC conference at the Venetian, and we're about to be here at the Caesars Palace at the Rare Evo event to talk more about cryptocurrency, to talk more about XPX. And we have something that works. We got over 6 figures in paid orders. We have multiple projects on our business portal, one being a Quads, that is a freelancer hub. We have limousine businesses here in Las Vegas on our business portal so they can accept cryptocurrency. So we're not going to this Rare Evo event with speculation on what we can do or what we're going to do. We're going there with proof of work, big community, Shout out to the XPX community. Shout out to Blunt House. And if you guys are coming here to Vegas, let me know so we can tap in, have some fun. I'm going to be linking up with Dabatola. There's some after set stuff that if you're cool enough, we'll invite you to. But if you're not coming. I'm joking, of course, but you guys have a fantastic day. You guys know it's a hard time to say goodbye, especially when we had a fire stream like this. But if you guys can like, comment, and subscribe, if you guys can't do that, continue to come back and experience the abundance of money with me. Until next time, you guys know what it is.
Thanks, Rico.
WrestleMania 3 at the Silverdome in Pontiac, Michigan. It's a day that I'm certain my guest at this time will not forget. I'm talking about the former Intercontinental Champion of the world, Macho Man Randy
Nothing
Savage.
means nothing. Nothing means nothing.
Nothing means nothing. What do you mean by that?
I'm talking about all the way to the top, yeah. Unjustifiably in a position that I'd rather not be in, but the cream will rise to the top, oh yeah. Macho Madness, yeah, has got more to offer than President Jack Tunney thinks that I got. Yeah, and I'm gonna tell you something right now. Cards stacked against the Macho Man Randy Savage in WrestleMania 3. Yeah, let me say it, yeah. Let me say it out loud. And let me point to the president of the World Wrestling Federation that the Macho Man Randy Savage is not happy with your decision, yeah. I am the cream in the World Wrestling Federation.
Wait a minute, friend.